Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're talking and there's nobody on this planet that I love talking with more than my bestie, Brandon Sogge. He is here from Belanger's Septic service and he is the operations manager for them, also partner. Brandon, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Very excited. Brandon and I have been friends for a few years now. So you've taught me a lot about all the things that you need to know about septic and the do's and the don'ts of the do-dos. So let's just dive right in. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. So have you ever seen The Office?
I have.
Okay. I don't know exactly what episode it was, but there was an episode where Michael Scott says, "Explain this to me as if I am a child."
Yes.
And that is exactly what I want you to do today, to explain septic tank, drain field. Literally, what are they? How does it work? It's all underground. It's all happening behind the scenes. What is it? What do we need to know?
So you said it right. I mean, it's out of sight. It's underground. And that's a huge thing with a lot of homeowners is it's out of sight, out of mind. It's not like a roof. It's not like a window or a foundation or even the inside of a foundation, something of that nature where you can see it. Most people just flush the toilet, take a shower, and it goes away. And that's obviously not the case.
Yeah.
Basically what happens, whether you're taking a shower, you're doing laundry, dishes, flushing the toilet, it all goes into a tank. If you live outside of the city limits, obviously. If we go with newer systems, there's 2 rooms to every tank. Is how we like to describe it.
So, like sections?
Yep. There's 2 compartments, rooms.
Okay.
So everything comes into this initial room, comes in, and then you have a solid layer of, your crap.
Solid waste.
Yep. There's little bacterial bugs that eat that and then turn that into the sludge layer that sits at the bottom of your tank.
Okay.
And in the middle, you have what we call like gray water.
Mm-hmm.
That all comes out, and then there's an outlet baffle. Comes in and goes to that other...
What's a baffle?
So basically what it does, it's like their pipe that comes in, there's another pipe that comes out. But basically what the baffle does is not let the solids on top or the sludge at the bottom. It hangs down about 2 feet. It's like a concrete little box.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps filter the water, the sludge, the solids coming into the next compartment. There's another one that goes before it goes to the drain field.
Okay.
So essentially what you want is just gray water going to your drain field. What you get when you go into the drain field, you get typically 4 rows of pipes with holes on the bottom. You have drain stone and then a layer of sand before your dirt. And again, it's supposed to filter the water and then saturate into the ground.
How does that happen, though, if it's all inside of a tank?
So again, it's going from one to the next, right? So you're going to fill that tank up. The average family of 4 uses roughly 1,000 gallons of water in a week. So if you have a 1,000, 16, 2,000 gallon tank, you're going to fill that up with water, not crap, but water. And then over time, there's more and more poop, crap.
Yeah, waste.
So that's why you want to get it pumped or inspected, looked at again before buying a home. You don't know how long it was before the last homeowner pumped it, even opened it, checked it out, whatever. And then again, that's essentially how a drain field works.
Okay. So things are coming in. They're naturally supposed to. They're naturally supposed to be separating and doing, it's going to do its natural thing.
You're correct.
And move through as it should, naturally.
Correct.
But I think I know the answer to this question. If you're putting things down your garbage disposal, or flushing things down the toilet that you shouldn't be,
correct,
then that's probably going to obstruct that natural filtering.
Yeah. So a huge thing that we've ran into the last 10 years are these flushable wipes. Everyone loves them, right? Well, they don't break down like toilet paper does.
Right.
So they just, once they're in your tank, they're just in your tank. There's no getting them out unless a company like us comes and pumps them out.
Which is costly, probably.
Which is costly because that's usually the more that's in there, the more time we're on site, the more we're going to charge you because we have to handle that.
So you have to then empty the tank, and then would you have to like scrape that kind of stuff out?
Well, I mean, it's like it's just floating around in the tank, right?
Yeah.
But again, the more we've gone to tanks that are solid full of them. They've been there for 10 years, and they're blocked up. They can't do anything because they're not breaking down. So they're blocking pipes, they're blocking this, and all of a sudden they can't use their facilities in the middle of the winter because they're using
Right.
things that don't break down.
Should not be going down there. So even if the packaging says flushable, absolutely not. It's a no-no.
A golf ball is flushable. Doesn't mean it's septic safe. That was. I mean, that's what we kind of tell customers a lot. And a big thing we tell customers is, I mean, you can do whatever you would like. I mean, it's your septic system. It's whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's just not recommended. And that's why a lot of those flushable wipe companies, they used to be able to put septic safe on the packaging. If you notice, it's not on there anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's not safe for your septic. But they will say flushable because it is technically flushable.
So that's just a big marketing thing to say it's flushable, to make people
Correct.
think, oh, it's fine for my septic.
Yeah,
but it's not.
I can't remember the city, so you're gonna have to excuse me on that. But there was one of the big cities in the U.S. They were having bus-size wads of these flushable wipes tangled together and causing huge problems in the city sewers, like in New York or Boston, one of those cities. They were having huge problems with these wipes, and they're causing a lot of problems.
Right. So that really just answers one of the big questions that I had for you, which was like the do's and the don'ts of what to be flushing or putting down your garbage disposal. And I'm guessing that the answer is just really, I mean, even your garbage disposal, right? We've talked about this. You shouldn't be putting anything.
No, garbage disposal is fine. I mean, I'm not here to say you can't use it, right? But it's not. It doesn't take the place of your trash can.
So going back to thinking about the septic tank and your drain field, those two things, when you get something inspected or something goes wrong, one, like you could have a problem with your drain field, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the septic tank, in theory, could be okay. It's just a problem in the with the pipes or something.
So a lot of the times, I mean, in a drain field replacement, I mean, there's a lot of cases where the tank's totally fine. I mean, the tank's not the problem. It's just the field got saturated, got bound up with roots. There's some other reasons, but those would be the two biggest. They're oversaturated or they get root bound. And that's what you see a big problem in Long Lake and East Bay townships are with all the trees. You see a lot of root problems with septic tanks and drain fields.
Interesting. What are some common like identifiers that something's going wrong with your septic system?
You see, it's a common misconception, but everyone says, "Oh, I know exactly where my drain field is. It's where all that really green grass is growing." That's not good because, again, it's supposed to saturate down into the ground.
Right.
So if it's coming up and your grass is super green, that usually means it's not draining down properly. So
it's coming up, not down.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay, so green grass.
Yep. I mean, you see any, like, if it's a little squishy or this or that, like if there's just anything like that, that's usually a pretty good indication.
What about gray water coming up in the shower?
Well, yeah, then you're gonna have some issues. I'm just saying if you're not, that's some precursors.
Yeah.
Like obviously backing up in your shower.
That's like, okay, now this is like not usable anymore.
Yeah,
and
you're correct.
Really
yeah,
wrong.
You're gonna have to call somebody like us to like get your tank open and check your drain field.
Yeah.
Because it's too late. But this is like, hey, maybe we should look at something.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, that's also really good to know if you're looking at houses or you're looking to buy a house. Look at outside, look at the grass, and if you're seeing that in one specific spot, that could be a really good identifier of that. Which leads me to what is your opinion? I'm sure you're biased, but you're also very knowledgeable, which is why I have you here. How important is getting a septic inspection before you buy a house?
So, I mean, again, it's kind of like a home inspection, right? I mean, septic replacements, whether you need tanks, I mean, there's a bunch of variables as far as cost goes. But really, I mean, talking to a lot of the excavators around this town, the starting price for a drain field replacement's close to $12,000-$15,000 now, just to start. You want to go higher, you can get up to 50 plus, depending on if you're on the water and what you have to do, right? So, so for the few $100s it is to have a licensed septic company come out and take a look. Again, you're right. I am biased, but I think that's a few $100s well spent, in my opinion.
Right. And you're somebody, I've heard you before say to people, and I can't remember the exact situation, but even something small where they called your team and you said, this is a small issue. We can come out there, but it's going to be extremely costly, which was one of the other questions that I had written down was common mistakes that could be avoided that you get calls on. That's something that is small that people do. I know probably flushing the wipes is the number one thing that you can avoid. But are there other things that is like people always forget about or don't do that could be easily avoided?
Well, I would say that wipes are a big thing. Grease down your drains.
Oh yeah.
Really, obviously that happens a lot. I mean, again, your biggest ally is, and again, as I have a little bit of a bias here, is maintenance. And again, we're probably one of the more honest. I tell people all the time, if I don't think they need to be pumped that often, I'm not here to say, hey, you need to be pumped every 2 or 3 years. Like if you can go 10, go for it. It makes no difference to me.
Right.
But just again, because you can't see it, getting it opened once in a while, whether you can do it yourself or you can't, and you have to call us. But I mean, I know your boyfriend Troy. I mean, he can dig up his tank and he can look and make sure everything's looking okay, right?
Yeah, right.
Where some people can't, and that's, again, you can call us and it'll cost you something, but at least then you have a little bit peace of mind.
Totally. Peace of mind is huge when it comes to something that costly. Absolutely. So you said the size of the tank per, for a 4-family household. So the size of the tank isn't necessarily, is it determined by the size of the house?
Number of bedrooms.
Number of bedrooms. Yep. Okay. What exactly does that mean?
So because it's they go off tank size and drain field one on what the lot can fit, but typically it goes off of how many bedrooms, because that's how many people they feel can live at that house. I mean, you could have 100 bathrooms, but if you have 2 bedrooms, they're like, well, okay, only really 4 people could live here. So that's usually how they determine the size of your tank and field. If you have a garbage disposal, it's automatically a certain size bigger. So your standard size for Northern Michigan is a 1,200 double compartment tank that we were talking about. That's your standard. That's base level. And then it only goes up from there. If you have a garbage disposal, it automatically starts at a 1,600. And then, again, from size goes up.
Well, that's important, too, because I know of someone in my circle that she was living, she's a senior living on her own, and then for an extended period of time, she had a lot of family and extra people in her house, and that was when she had the gray water coming up, and it was just because there was such an influx in people there, and she hadn't had it pumped in a while.
Well, and that's another thing. I mean, and it's going to be hard to tell, even in an inspection or this or that. A lot of these older homes, I mean, if there's an old lady living there by herself, it doesn't have a lot of company, and then all of a sudden you put a family of 5 in there. I mean, it's just the average life expectancy for drain field in Grand Traverse County is 25 years. That doesn't seem like a lot, especially for the investment, but that's your typical life, and a lot of people get longer than that, but it seems like. But
yeah, but also just think about, like, how often you're showering, using the bathroom, the sink. Like, it's so crucial and so important. So yeah, it makes sense why it's so costly. And 25 years, I feel like that's,
well, I mean, you got to think you're not paying a city sewer bill.
Well, I think a lot of the stuff that we've touched on so far is a really good reminder, especially for first-time home buyers, just because I know a lot of people, our age getting homes, they're coming from oftentimes an apartment. And I know even from my own personal experience that you don't really care as much when you're living in an apartment, what you're putting down the drains, what you're putting down the toilet, and you forget about those things. But let me tell you, when it's your own house, you're going to care a lot more about those things.
No, and that's a great point, because especially Traverse City with a lot of the people, either, I mean, just from in-town Traverse moving to the outskirts, but there's been a ton of people moving from the Grand Rapids, Detroit, Lansing, Chicago areas up here, and they have no concept.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a lot of people, they take over their family cabins, and they have these old septic systems, and then they move a family of 5 in here. They remodel it, like, give it a facelift, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're backed up, and we're this and that, and they didn't think about it because, well, we come from city sewer. We didn't know, like, well, are you getting a city sewer bill? Well, no, you don't have city sewer.
Yeah. Yep. So let's get into some of your own experiences at your job, because I know that there's got to be some fun stories. First things first, what has been, if you can talk about it, what has been like the most, like you went out there to do a job on a septic tank, something, and you were like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Whether it was like the oldest like septic tank, like what is the oldest one you've ever seen?
Oh, there's old ones made from farmers. You go out to Old Mission Peninsula, or you go down to Buckley or something. Some of these places, there's these old farmhouses. I mean, they're made out of cinder blocks or old fuel tanks, or yeah, it's just whatever they could make to hold the crap, and then make a makeshift drain field. And they wouldn't call the health department to get a replacement, a permit, or anything like that. They'd just dig up the drain field and put a new little makeshift drain field in again. So now we're coming 100 years later, and they got an old fuel tank, or one time one of our guys saw it was an old car sealed up.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, the car was sealed up, and that's what they were using?
They use as a septic tank.
So was there a lid that you pulled off?
So they cut it open. I wasn't the one that did it, but that's what was on our maintenance report. Was the guy said old car was the septic tank.
So that was holding the waste.
That was holding the waste. Was the car. It broke down, so they buried it, and that was what they used as a septic tank.
What kind of car was it? Was it vintage?
Yeah, right. I don't think it's worth any money anymore.
Okay. I really want to hear, and I might know it. I'm thinking of one specific story that you told me about like a bad day. But I would love if you could share a story and in the most let's say G-rated, non-terrible sounding terms.
Yeah.
What was like either the craziest day or the day that was like, why am I doing this?
Well, I don't know if I could pick that out, but probably my craziest story or most awkward interaction that's probably come out from even our company, but would be we have this a little bit, but maybe not to this extent with this certain product. This happened to be a guy went and pumped a tank for this guy, or husband and wife, and he's there, and the husband wants to come out, asking questions as homeowners do, and have no problem answering them, and that, and he comes up and asks, what's all this floating? He said, well, those are condoms. And he was like, oh, that's really weird. And he's like, and our tech, trying to, because it happens quite a bit, and he's just like, well, you're really you're not supposed to be flushing these, but just try to throw them away. And he's like, just kind of got silent, and the guy's like, well, hey, who knows, this, that, and he's like, well, that's weird. I had a vasectomy. He's like, well, it might be your kids, like, who knows? They've moved out since the last time we pumped our tank. So I think one of our guys caused a divorce that day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was probably the craziest one.
This is like
most awkward.
That is tea. That is gossip.
Yeah.
Oh, that person was probably so uncomfortable. Like your employee was probably so uncomfortable.
I mean, I've had a couple. Some other techs have had a couple. Where parents are all mad and we gotta have a family sit down or this or that.
Oh my gosh.
But that one was probably the worst to come out.
That is so uncomfy and awkward.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. More. Come on. You have more.
That was the one I knew you'd like. So that was the one I remember.
You've never told me that. And I also can't believe you've been working for 10 years now. But I guess how old were you when you started?
Right out of high school. So I started at, I have funny Porta-John stories, but that's not what this is. I tell all new trainees or guys I'm interviewing to like hire or this or that, and I said, you're going to get crap on you, but it's your own fault. I'm going to tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
We all have. We have 20-some employees between the Porta-John division, like security sanitation, and septic. Every single guy has gotten a bath. Not to some extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just your pants or whatever.
Yeah.
We have a shower at the shop.
Yeah.
But it's your own fault. It's going to be you being in a rush or you having your head up your yang. But we all have done it.
Your yang. Anything else that you think is really important for not even just first-time home buyers to know? People that, are potentially older or looking to move, or they've been in their house for 30 plus years. Anything else that you think is really important?
Well, so a huge thing is we're seeing it a lot with newer builds. The first thing you do when you buy a new house, a lot of people, you're buying new dishware or you're washing all your sheets right when you get there. The first thing you're putting down your drain is all this antibacterial product, whether it's laundry soap or detergent, whatever it is.
Bleach.
And that really harms the bacteria in your tank.
Yeah.
Which helps break down what I say that solid layer on top into that bacteria. So what we're seeing a lot is there's no bugs, so to speak, in these systems. And these paper, they've only been there a year or two, and they're blocking their pipes or they're this and they're that because the first thing they did was kill any bacteria that might have right away. Now, we sell bacteria. You can get this Red X stuff or whatever it is. The best thing to do is try to keep a healthy tank. And I can give you some things after this, and I'll show you, pull up and give you maybe a website of some good things.
Literally the bacteria you can buy to put it.
Yeah, and we'll obviously, if we come to your house the first time and that's the reason it's not, we have some industrial grade stuff. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's going to work and it's going to help your tank flourish because again, you don't want to have backups when it's, the roads are crappy like this. And there's sometimes hey, I'm not putting a really expensive truck and a guy's life at danger because you're backing up. So you might have to wait a couple days so the roads are clear.
Yeah.
So you want to avoid that thing by just having some semi-regular maintenance. I'm not saying you have to pump it every year, check it every year, but some semi-regular maintenance and just making sure your tank is working, functioning properly. That's the huge thing.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you could literally buy the good bacteria, the good bugs.
Well, and a lot of things happen from people taking medications or chemo, stuff like that can really kill your tank. If you want to look at it as a living thing, it can kill all the bugs and the things that break down and help your tank function properly.
I did not think about that at all. I'm really, really glad that you said that because I think it is important for someone that is buying a house. That is the first thing that you do. When I got my house, I was scrubbing every inch of it. I was doing
loads and loads of laundry. Well, and again, a lot of the times, it's not as bad when you have these older houses that already have a tank in there and have, already has bacteria set. It's a lot of these new homes, new builds that it's fresh concrete. There's no existing bacteria in that tank at all.
Right.
So that's the first thing you're doing. So on our website we have some good recommendations as far as what to do to help that and what some do's and don'ts, like bullet points. That's not a bad thing to check out.
Anything else that you want to share? Any other stories? Anything you feel that we have missed today?
I don't think so.
I feel like that's good so far. Well, if you feel like we missed anything that you're curious about when it comes to your septic system and caring for your home, you can comment below and maybe we'll have Brandon back another day. And Sogge, I'm so happy that you came today. It was a pleasure sitting down with you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. See you later.